Coming live from the studio, this is All Sports with Gerardo. Thank you for listening to All Sports through Met Radio on mymetmedia.com, live every Thursday from 3 to 4 p.m. This is your host, Gerardo, and all I talk is sports. On the show today, I'm going to talk about NFL football, Major League Baseball, NBA basketball, NHL hockey, and college football. So before I start the show, I hope you all had a great week. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. I hope you all have a great Thanksgiving. Even though it's the holiday and campus is closed for the holiday, that won't stop me from doing my weekly episode of All Sports with Gerardo. To start off with Major League Baseball, in the American League, Mookie Betts won AL MVP. In the National League, Christian Yelich won NL MVP. My predictions were right for MVP in both the American League and the National League. Mookie Betts won American League MVP because he won the World Series with the Boston Red Sox. He had a great season this year. He was consistent from start to finish, including going into the postseason, so he definitely deserves it. He won many other awards with the MVP this year, so congrats to Mookie Betts on having a great 2018 season. In the National League, Christian Yelich won NL MVP because he had a great season, especially in the second half of the season after the All-Star break, and when September came, when it counts, when you need to win games to get your team into the postseason. He played the best baseball out of every player in the entire league. He was hitting home runs in almost every game. He was great offensively and defensively, and he helped the Brewers get into the postseason. And they were only one game short of making it to the World Series. But overall, Christian Yelich had a great year. Congrats to Christian Yelich on winning the National League MVP. You deserve it. And I'm already looking forward to the 2019 baseball season. The 2018 season was great. So congrats to all the players that won awards in both the American League and the National League. Adrian Beltre announces retirement and calls it a career after 21 seasons in Major League Baseball. Adrian Beltre is a 4-time All-Star, 5-time Gold Glove winner, 2004 National League home run leader. He has 477 home runs, 3,166 career hits, and he hit for the cycle 3 times. So congrats to Adrian Beltre on such an awesome career in baseball. And we're going to have to wait and see, but Adrian Beltre definitely looks like he will be in the Baseball Hall of Fame in the future. Dodgers pitcher Kenley Jansen is set to have heart surgery, and the recovery time for him will be 2 to 8 weeks. Kenley Jansen wants to be ready to pitch by spring training. Kenley Jansen suffered a furiation episode in August back in Denver as a result of a heart condition that leaves him vulnerable to an irregular heartbeat at high altitude. He skipped the return trip back to Denver against the Rockies in September after a cardiologist advised he would be at high risk of another incident happening. So this incident happened at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel back in August when the Dodgers were visiting the Rockies here in Denver. It was actually before the first game of the 4-game series against the Rockies at Coors Field. Kenley Jansen was taken out of the hotel by the ambulance and taken to a Denver hospital. Later to found out after he returned back to Los Angeles during the Dodgers-Rockies series that he had this episode, and he did not make the return trip back to Denver in September. But he is now having heart surgery now in the off season to hopefully repair this problem. and he should be ready to go when the 2019 baseball season starts. So we're just going to have to wait and see if Kenley Jansen will be the same or if he will be better when the baseball season starts. But towards the end of the 2018 baseball season and going into the postseason, as the Dodgers were making it to the World Series, he did pitch great, but at times he didn't look like the same in the Kenley Jansen that we know. So hopefully he'll be the Kenley Jansen we know in the 2019 baseball season. The Nationals have agreed to a 2-year deal with free agent catcher Kirk Suzuki. James Paxton has been traded from the Mariners to the Yankees, and the Mariners will receive Justice Shinfield from the Yankees. The Mariners are supposed to also receive the Yankees' #1 prospect. On the 2019 Major League Baseball Hall of Fame ballot, Mariano Rivera, Roy Halladay, Andy Pettitte, and Todd Helton are the new names on this year's Hall of Fame ballot. Which 4 of the new name players on this year's ballot will be a first ballot Hall of Famer? Will Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, or Larry Walker finally make it into the Hall of Fame this year? We will have to wait and see, but there are great players on this year's ballot, and they all have a strong case for why they should be in the Hall of Fame. Definitely looking at the 4 players I mentioned that are new to the ballot this year. In my opinion, Mariano Rivera is definitely a first ballot Hall of Famer. He should get in this year. Roy Halladay should also be a first ballot Hall of Famer. He has a very strong case as well. Andy Pettitte, you could say he's also a first ballot Hall of Famer. Todd Helton has a great chance, but there are definitely some great names on this year's ballot. So for sure, Mariano Rivera and probably Roy Halladay are first ballot Hall of Famers. Andy Pettitte and Todd Helton, I don't know. If not this year, it should be next year or sometime soon. So we're just going to have to wait and see. And Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, Larry Walker, they have a strong case as well. But I don't know if it's going to be this year. Right now, I'm going to take a commercial break. When I come back, I will talk about the NFL. Welcome back to All Sports with Gerardo. Moving on now to NFL football. The Broncos beat the Chargers in a close game, 23-22 in Los Angeles, with the Chargers coming into the game 7-2, only losing to the Chiefs and Rams, and being on a 6-game winning streak. The Chargers had a huge advantage over the Broncos since they are playing great football this season, and the game was in Los Angeles. But with the Broncos coming off their bye week and being desperate to win another game this season and to win on the road, the Broncos were going to battle the Chargers in an AFC West divisional matchup. For the Broncos, Case Keenum had 205 yards. Phillip Lindsay had 79 yards on 11 carries for 2 touchdowns. Royce Freeman had 1 touchdown. Cortland Sutton had 78 yards on 3 catches. Emmanuel Sanders had 56 yards on 4 catches. Chris Harris had 1 interception. Bradley Chubb had 1 sack. Adam Gossett had 1 sack. And Von Miller had a big game with 1 sack and 1 interception against Phillip Rivers. Von Miller always has a big game against Phillip Rivers, and he always plays his best game against the Chargers, and especially against Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers had 401 yards, 2 touchdowns to Keelan Allen and Antonio Gates, and 2 interceptions. Chargers wide receiver Keenan Allen gave no credit to the Broncos for their comeback victory, and he said, "No, I don't think they played well at all. We dominated the game. Turnovers, we gave them some points, and that's what happened. They sucked." But for the Chargers, if it wasn't for the turnovers, I'm pretty sure the Chargers would have beat the Broncos. Also, if you looked up into the crowd during the Chargers-Broncos game, yes, this game was at the StubHub Center in Los Angeles, but looking at it from a Broncos perspective, it looked like there were more Broncos fans. You saw a lot of orange in the stands, so to me it looked like it was another Broncos home game on the road. So every time the Broncos go on the road, they always have a big Broncos crowd, especially when it's divisional games and they play the Chargers. So it was definitely a great game, and the Broncos definitely needed to win this game, and they were able to win this game at the end. And it was even better because it was against a divisional team in an AFC West matchup against the Chargers. The only other game that was better than this Chargers games was when the Broncos played the Chargers back in 2012 at Qualcomm Stadium with quarterback Peyton Manning. At halftime, they were down 24-0. It looked like the Broncos didn't have a chance of coming back and winning the game, but after halftime, Peyton Manning and the Broncos came back and defeated the Chargers 35-24. The Chargers were not able to score any more points, and the Broncos just kept scoring on every drive. So even though a team's down, or they would have to have a big lead to catch up to the team to possibly win the game, no team's ever out. They still have a chance, even if they're losing by a lot of points. We saw big comebacks in a lot of football games, and especially in sports. Even in a series when a team's down, they've come back to win the championship. So you can never doubt a team even when they're losing or they're down in a series. And the Broncos always play some great football against the Chargers all the time, so that's always a great game to watch. Last Monday in the Chiefs vs. Rams game, this was the game of the year in the NFL. And this could be a potential matchup in the Super Bowl this year. Coming into the game, the Chiefs and Rams were both 9-1, and both teams have one of the best offensive and defensive teams in the NFL. This game was supposed to be in Mexico City at Estadio Azteca, but due to the field conditions, the game was moved to Los Angeles at the Coliseum. With the game being moved to Los Angeles on a short notice and everything that has been taking place in the Los Angeles region, the Coliseum had a sold-out crowd. For the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes had 478 yards, 6 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. Tyreek Hill had 10 catches for 215 yards and 2 touchdowns. Travis Kelce had 10 catches for 127 yards and 1 touchdown. Chris Conley had 7 catches for 74 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Kareem Hunt had 3 catches for 41 yards and 1 touchdown. For the Rams, Jared Goff had 413 yards, 4 touchdowns, and he also ran in for a touchdown. Brandon Cooks had 8 catches for 107 yards. Josh Reynolds had 6 catches for 80 yards and 1 touchdown. Robert Woods had 4 catches for 72 yards and 1 touchdown. Gerald Everett had 3 catches for 49 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Aaron Donald had a big game with 2 sacks. The Chiefs-Rams game is going down in the history books with 14 combined touchdowns, 1,001 combined yards, 105 points, the most in Monday Night Football history. The first game in NFL history where each team scored 50-plus points. Even the losing team scored 50-plus points. And Patrick Mahomes is the first quarterback to throw 6 touchdowns in the Monday Night Football game. The final score of this game was the Rams won the game at the end 54-51. Now the Chiefs are 9-2 and the Rams are 10-1. We will have to wait and see if the Chiefs and Rams make it to the Super Bowl, but if both teams make it all the way, then this is going to be a great Super Bowl matchup. Broncos guard Max Garcia tore his ACL in practice last Thursday, and he is out for the rest of the season. Billy Turner will replace Max Garcia at left guard. During the Redskins-Texans game, Redskins quarterback Alex Smith had to be carted off the field during the game after suffering a gruesome leg injury. The Redskins confirmed Alex Smith broke his tibia and fibula, and he will need season-ending surgery. The injury is a suffered compound fracture, which means the bone broke through his skin. And Alex Smith suffered a spiral fracture in his leg that is defined as a long broken bone by a rotational force. Alex Smith will miss the rest of the season. This is a huge loss for the team since the Redskins had the hopes of making it into the playoffs this season. Alex Smith is 34 years old, and if he wants to return to the team, then it's going to be a lengthy rehab process. The Redskins are signing Mark Sanchez to back up Colt McCoy. Colt McCoy is expected to be the starter for the Redskins. Broncos All-Pro linebacker Von Miller became the 5th fastest player in NFL history to 100 career sacks in 121 games, which includes the regular season and the playoffs. Von Miller also posted his 7th 10-sack season, and only Reggie White had more through a player's first 8 NFL seasons. Von Miller was named AFC Defensive Player of the Week after a great performance against the Chargers last Sunday. In the NFL Week 12 power rankings, the top 10 teams right now are the Saints, Rams, Chiefs, Steelers, Patriots, Bears, Chargers, Texans, Vikings, and Panthers. The NFL announced the 2019 NFL Hall of Fame semifinalists. The names that stand out are Tony Gonzalez, Ed Reed, Champ Bailey, Hines Ward, Steve Atwater, and John Lynch. We will have to wait and see who makes it into the Hall of Fame, but there are great players on this year's ballot that will be first ballot Hall of Famers, and all the other players have a strong case for why they should be in the Hall of Fame. Definitely looking at the names, Tony Gonzalez, Ed Reed, and Champ Bailey should definitely be first ballot Hall of Fame. They should get into the Hall of Fame this year. They have a very strong case. There are other players as well, like Hines Ward. I could see him being a first ballot Hall of Famer. If he doesn't get in this year, definitely next year or one of the years after. Steve Atwater always has a strong case. John Lynch, with being the general manager of the 49ers, he would have a greater chance as well. But with already having a safety, Ed Reed, that looks like he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, it's going to be a little bit harder for Steve Atwater and John Lynch to also get in this year. Usually they only do 1 or 2 of the same position players every year that get elected into the Hall of Fame. So if not this year for Steve Atwater or John Lynch, maybe next year. But Steve Atwater or John Lynch, I could see one of the two also getting into the Hall of Fame this year. We will just have to wait and see. The NFL announced they will return to Estadio Azteca in Mexico City in 2019. Even though the field conditions at Estadio Azteca forced the Chiefs-Rams game to be moved, the NFL is looking to being able to play a game there next year at Estadio Azteca. We don't know which 2 teams it'll be. It'll be announced next April when the NFL schedules are announced, but hopefully next year the game can get in. We will just have to wait and see, but it's definitely nice seeing the NFL being able to go international and take a game to a different country. For the last few years, the NFLs have been playing a game at Estadio Azteca in Mexico City. They still have a contract that runs for a couple more years, so they want to take a game there next year and going into the future. So hopefully the field conditions doesn't hold back the NFL from having a game played there next season. According to multiple reports, Gary Kubiak is going to consider NFL offensive coordinator jobs next season. According to reports and Packers rumors, Packers head coach Mike McCarthy could be fired after this season ends. This season, the Packers are currently 4-5-1. They have lost 3 of their last 4 games, and they are 0-5 on the road. According to reports, when the 2019 NFL league year starts, it's very unlikely the Steelers will keep running back Le'Veon Bell on their roster, and there are a few potential landing spots for running back Le'Veon Bell that would make sense. The best teams for Le'Veon Bell to go to are the Jets, Packers, Saints, Colts, Ravens, or Texans. The Jets are rumored to be the favorite and the landing spot for Le'Veon Bell. So we will have to wait and see what happens with the Le'Veon Bell situation this offseason. According to Browns general manager John Dorsey, he said last week he is open to hiring a woman as the Browns' next head coach. According to a league source, the Browns are considering to interview former Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice for the team's head coaching job. She would become the first woman to ever interview for an NFL head coaching job, or to be the first woman to be a head coach in the NFL. Right now I'm going to take a commercial break. When I come back, I will talk about the rest of the NFL. Welcome back to All Sports with Gerardo. Moving on now. Right now I'm going to tell you the NFL regular season Week 11 final scores. Then I will tell you the highlights from this week of football and the current division standings and playoff picture in the AFC and the NFC. And then I will get to the NFL regular season Week 12 matchups and what to watch for in the Week 12 matchups. So to start off, the Green Bay Packers versus the Seattle Seahawks. The final score, the Seahawks win 27-24. The Cincinnati Bengals versus the Baltimore Ravens. The final score, the Ravens win 24-21. The Dallas Cowboys versus the Atlanta Falcons. The final score, the Cowboys win 22-19. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the New York Giants. The final score, the Giants win 38-35. The Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. The final score, the Steelers win 20-16. The Houston Texans versus the Washington Redskins. The final score, the Texans win 23-21. Tennessee Titans versus the Indianapolis Colts. The final score, the Colts win 38-10. The Carolina Panthers versus the Detroit Lions. The final score, the Lions win 20-19. The Denver Broncos versus the Los Angeles Chargers. The final score, the Broncos win 23-22. The Oakland Raiders versus the Arizona Cardinals. The final score, the Raiders win 23-21. The Philadelphia Eagles versus the New Orleans Saints. The final score, the Saints win 48-7. The Minnesota Vikings versus the Chicago Bears. The final score, the Bears win 25-20. And the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Los Angeles Rams. The final score, the Rams win 54-51. So that's all the final scores from the 11 week of regular season football. The highlights from this week of football: the Chiefs-Rams game was the game of the year. It was a great game. Patrick Mahomes and Jared Goff had a great performance. It kept going back and forth. Both teams were battling. The key for the Rams to win was Aaron Donald had a great game. The Rams defense, and they're the first defense that was able to get to Patrick Mahomes. The turnovers caused by the Chiefs determined why the Chiefs were able to win this game. Patrick Mahomes is very hard to get to, especially when he gets out of the pocket. No other defense has really been able to get to him, except for the Rams. They were able to pressure him. They were sacking Patrick Mahomes. They were intercepting him. They were stripping the ball out of his hands. So the Rams have one of the best defenses in the NFL. And they definitely showed that on Monday night against the Chiefs. They were able to get to Patrick Mahomes. And looking at their schedule, I think this is the only defense that can get to Patrick Mahomes. But this was definitely a great game. Even though it was moved from Mexico City to Los Angeles, it was an insane game. Great battle. It was electric since it was going back and forth. A potential Super Bowl matchup. If these two teams do meet up in this year's Super Bowl, it's definitely going to be one of the best Super Bowls that has ever been played. The Bears were able to beat the Vikings at the end of the game at home. The Saints blew out the Eagles at home in New Orleans. I don't know how, but the Broncos were able to win the game at the end against the Chargers in Los Angeles. This was a must-win game for the Broncos coming off their bye week and trying to win another game this season. The Lions were able to beat the Panthers at the end by 1 point, 20-19 at home. The Colts blew out the Titans at home. The Texans were able to win on the road at Washington against the Redskins, 23-21. Unfortunately, the Redskins lost quarterback Alex Smith for the rest of the season after that gruesome leg injury. It's expected that the Redskins will start backup Colt McCoy. They have signed Mark Sanchez. The Steelers were able to go on the road and beat the Jaguars in a close game, 20-16. The Giants were able to win at home against the Buccaneers in a close game, 38-35. The Cowboys were able to go on the road and win a close game against the Falcons, 22-19. This was a must-win game for the Cowboys to save their season. The Ravens were able to win at home, 24-21 against the Bengals in an AFC North matchup. Quarterback Lamar Jackson started for the Ravens for his first NFL career game. He had a great game, great performance. He can definitely be the quarterback of the future for the Ravens if the Ravens do plan on moving on from quarterback Joe Flacco this offseason. That's a possibility I've heard rumored from the Ravens. The Packers-Seahawks game, that was a great game. This is always a great game, especially when it's in Seattle. The Packers had a chance at winning this game at the end, but the Seahawks were able to win a close game at the end, 27-24. The last two times that the Packers have played the Seahawks in Seattle, it's been great matchups. So that's all the highlights from the 11th week of regular season football. Looking at the current division standings and the playoff picture in both the AFC and the NFC. To start off with the AFC, the Chiefs are leading the AFC West right now at 9-2. They are the first seed. The Steelers are 7-2, and they're the second seed. And they're leading the AFC North. The Patriots are 7-3. They're the third seed, and they're leading the AFC East. The Texans are 7-3. They're the fourth seed. They're leading the AFC South. The Chargers are 7-3. They're the fifth seed, and they're leading the first wild card spot. The Ravens are 5-5, and they're leading the second wild card spot. In the hunt right now in the AFC, the Bengals, the Dolphins, the Colts, and the Titans are all 5-5. In the NFC, the Rams are 10-1. They're the first seed, and they're leading the NFC West, and it's looking like nobody else can catch the Rams in the NFC West. The Saints are 9-1. They're the second seed. They're leading the NFC South. The Bears are 7-3. They're the third seed. Right now, they're leading the NFC North. The Redskins are 6-4. They're the fourth seed. They're leading the NFC East. But with the Redskins losing quarterback Alex Smith, there's a possibility that the Cowboys could catch the Redskins to try to win this division. Cowboys have been playing better football lately and winning games, so it's definitely open competition in the NFC East. The Panthers are 6-4. They're the fifth seed, and they're leading the first wild card spot. The Vikings are 5-4, and they're leading the second wild card spot, and they're the sixth seed. In the hunt in the NFC, the Seahawks and the Cowboys, they're at 5-5 right now. But the Packers, Falcons still have a chance if they start winning games later on this season. So that's the current standings in the playoff picture and in the divisions in both the AFC and the NFC right now. It can definitely change. There's still a lot of football to be played. So different teams could lead their division, or different teams could move up in the seeds in the current playoff picture in both the AFC and the NFC. So looking at the NFL regular season Week 12 matchups, right now I'm going to tell you the matchups, what teams go up against each other, and what to watch for this week in football. So to start off, the Chiefs and the Rams are both on their bye week. On Thanksgiving, we got 3 big games and matchups. They're definitely must-watch games. We got the Chicago Bears versus the Detroit Lions. The Washington Redskins versus the Dallas Cowboys. And the Atlanta Falcons versus the New Orleans Saints. These 3 games are going to be great games. The Lions and the Cowboys always play on Thanksgiving. Usually it's a division game. The Bears are going to be without quarterback Mitchell Trubisky. So that kind of gives the Lions a slight chance of winning this game since it's in Detroit. The Redskins will be without quarterback Alex Smith for the rest of the season. Colt McCoy is expected to start for the Redskins. They did sign Mark Sanchez. Depending on how one of the two play, they could always make a switch at quarterback next week or later on in the season. The Cowboys are at home. This game is in Dallas, so the Cowboys do have a greater chance of winning this game. So hopefully the Cowboys can win this game since they are the healthier team right now. And then we got the Falcons versus the Saints. All 3 of these games are divisional matchups. All these teams have a rivalry and a history that goes back. So the Saints are going to be at home against the Falcons. They blew out the Eagles last Sunday. So the Saints always play good at home in New Orleans. So they have a great chance of beating the Falcons. And if Mark Sanchez starts for the Redskins or not, this date 6 years ago, back in 2012, is when Mark Sanchez did the butt fumble, the well-known butt fumble play. So what I like about sports, even when it's the holidays, you see a play, a catch, or a game that goes down into the history books. So that's one thing I like about sports. You always see something that you've never seen before, or you may never see ever again. So all three of these games are going to be great games on Thanksgiving. Definitely tune into these games if you have a chance. Whenever the Lions or the Cowboys play on Thanksgiving, especially the Cowboys, it's a great game. So definitely tune into these games and have a great Thanksgiving. Enjoy time with your family and friends and eat some great Thanksgiving food, or go Black Friday shopping on Thanksgiving night or on Black Friday. So definitely enjoy Thanksgiving with your loved ones, and if you get the opportunity, watch these football games because they're always great games. On Sunday, we got the Cleveland Browns versus the Cincinnati Bengals, the San Francisco 49ers versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Buffalo Bills, the Oakland Raiders versus the Baltimore Ravens, the Seattle Seahawks versus the Carolina Panthers, the New England Patriots versus the New York Jets, the New York Giants versus the Philadelphia Eagles, the Arizona Cardinals versus the Los Angeles Chargers, the Miami Dolphins versus the Indianapolis Colts, the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Denver Broncos. On Sunday Night Football, we got the Green Bay Packers versus the Minnesota Vikings. And on Monday Night Football, we got the Tennessee Titans versus the Houston Texans. So that's all the matchups in the 12th week of regular season football. What to watch for this week in football? Can the Texans win at home against the Titans on Monday Night Football? Is the Packers or the Vikings going to win this game on Sunday Night Football in a big NFC North divisional matchup? Can the Broncos win at home against the Steelers? Can the Chargers bounce back and beat the Cardinals after winning 6 in a row and losing against the Broncos in a close game last week? Is the Giants or the Eagles going to win in a big NFC East matchup? Can the Patriots go on the road and beat the Jets in New York? This is usually a great game, and the Jets always give the Patriots a hard time in New York. Can the Seahawks go on the road and beat the Panthers? Can the Raiders go on the road and beat the Ravens in Baltimore? The Ravens play really good at home, so I can see the Ravens winning this game. And according to quarterback Derek Carr, he is not giving up on this season, and he's not going to let the Raiders tank and potentially get the first pick in the NFL draft next year. So he still wants to play great football, and the Raiders still want to have a chance at winning more games this season and playing better football. Can the Jaguars go on the road and beat the Bills, or can the Bills win at home with a backup quarterback? Can the Browns go on the road and beat the Bengals? So that's what's to watch for in this week of regular season football, with all the Thanksgiving games and with all the games on Sunday and Monday. Right now, I'm going to take a commercial break. When I come back, I will talk about the NBA and NHL. Welcome back to All Sports with Gerardo. Moving on now to NBA basketball. On Wednesday, LeBron returned back to Cleveland for the one and only time this season in a Lakers uniform. In the game, LeBron had 32 points, 14 rebounds, and 7 assists, and the Lakers were able to defeat the Cavaliers 109-105. On Wednesday, Vince Carter became the 22nd player in NBA history to have 25,000 career points. Carmelo Anthony and the Rockets are parting ways. Carmelo averaged 13 points and 5 rebounds in 10 games with the Rockets. J.R. Smith and the Cavaliers have mutually agreed for him to leave the team as both sides work to find a trade. Dirk Nowitzki is expected to make his season debut sometime in December. He is still recovering from an ankle surgery he had 7 months ago, and the recovery is longer than expected. After the Warriors lost to the Clippers in overtime 121-116, Kevin Durant and Draymond Green got into an altercation after time ran out in regulation and the game was tied going into overtime, which led to the heated exchange continuing into the locker room after the game. Kevin Durant got mad at Draymond Green after he turned the basketball over at the end of the game, and Kevin Durant was wide open, so he could have did the game-winning shot to win the game. Draymond Green was suspended by the Warriors for 1 game after the altercation and for conduct contrary to the team. The Warriors are concerned about the comments made to Kevin Durant from Draymond Green because Green was calling Durant names, and Green told Durant, "We don't need you. We won without you. Leave." According to reports and personnel in the NBA, it's very unlikely Kevin Durant will opt into his contract with the Warriors this offseason, and both Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson may test free agency. Unless the Warriors trade Draymond Green, it's looking like Kevin Durant won't stay with the Warriors after this season. Before the Warriors-Rockets game, when Draymond Green returned from his 1-game suspension, he stated, "We're moving forward," and Kevin Durant stated not to ask him about the subject again. Moving on now to NHL hockey. Right now I'm going to give you the current standings in the Eastern and Western Conference. In the NHL, the division standings go off the amount of goals the team scored, not by the wins or losses by the team. So to start off in the Eastern Conference in the Metropolitan Division, right now Columbus is leading this division, but the New York Rangers and Washington are right behind Columbus. In the Atlantic Division, right now Tampa Bay is leading this division, but Toronto and Buffalo are right behind Tampa Bay in this division. In the Western Conference, Nashville is leading this division. Minnesota, Winnipeg, and Colorado are right behind Nashville in this division. In the Pacific, Calgary is leading this division, and San Jose is behind Calgary in this division. So that's all the current division standings in the Eastern and Western Conference in the NHL. Right now I'm going to take a commercial break. When I come back, I will talk about college football in the end of the show. Welcome back to All Sports with Gerardo. Moving on now to college football. Last Saturday, CU lost to Utah 30-7. Colorado didn't wait until the end of the season, and they have fired head coach Mike McIntyre after 6 seasons with Colorado. Currently in the college football top 25, the top 10 college teams are Alabama, Clemson, Notre Dame, Michigan, Georgia, Oklahoma, LSU, Washington State, UCF, and Ohio State. Currently, the top 4 college teams are number 1 Alabama, number 2 Clemson, number 3 Notre Dame, and number 4 Michigan. Every week, the college football playoff top 25 teams rank can change. Each team in the top 25 can move into different rankings or move out of the top 25. For all top 25 teams, each game counts because if they lose, then they can move down, rank lower, or be eliminated from the top 25. And if they win, then they can move up and rank higher. Moving on now to end the show. What to watch for this week in sports. On Thanksgiving, there are 3 NFL games. The Bears against the Lions, the Redskins against the Cowboys, and the Falcons against the Saints. CU's last game of the season is this Saturday at California. The Broncos' next game is this Sunday against the Steelers at Mile High Stadium, and the Broncos will be wearing their Color Rush uniforms and their throwback helmets. The 12th week of regular season football, the Denver Nuggets, college football, college basketball. Moving on now, On the next show, I will talk about NFL football, Major League Baseball, NBA basketball, NHL hockey, and college football. I hope you all have a great Thanksgiving. Tune in to the next All Sports with Gerardo show next week. I want to say thank you to everybody that listens to All Sports through Met Radio here on mymetmedia.com. Subscribe or like my pages on social media at All Sports with Gerardo. Until next time, this is Gerardo.